Hey guys, it's Shelby, and today I want to talk about some habits and mindset shifts for a more sustainable lifestyle. I actually asked you for some video ideas over on the community tab, and this is a direct response to a video request that I got over there. So make sure if you missed that post or if you ever missed any of my videos, that you are subscribed here and that you turn on the notifications so that you don't miss your opportunity to let me know what videos you want to see and so that you don't miss any of those videos when they come out. This is going to be a very chatty video, I'm sure. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that they kind of all are. But I won't spend too much more time on the intro. Just want to give a big thank you to today's sponsor, which is Skillshare. We know and love them. A platform with over 30,000 courses to learn from. And of course, as always, when I partner with Skillshare, the first 1,000 people to click the link at the top of my description will get 1 month free to their premium membership. And it's only around $10 a month after that. But we'll talk more about them later on. So specifically, you asked about how to avoid impulse buys. And so I wanted to make the first few tips of the video focusing essentially on that. But I think that getting out of the habit of impulse buying is also a mindset shift, if that makes any sense to you. I think that in order to have a habit change, right, there needs to also be a mindset shift. So these are all kind of intertwined, just go with the flow. First thing would be to get in the habit of having the mindset of asking yourself these questions before any purchase. What is it made from? I think the materials are really important to keep in mind when you're purchasing something, to think about the impacts of those materials on the environment, which kind of ties into number 2, which is how were those materials extracted, grown, etc. As I've been discussing a lot more recently, sustainability when it comes to materials is a little bit of a gray area because depending on what metric we are going by, plastic might be more sustainable than glass in a certain circumstance. A recycled material might not be as sustainable as some other organically grown materials. There's a lot to consider, but when taking materials into consideration, you can rule out a lot of impulse buys because most of our impulse buys are not because they are made from something sustainable. I always ask myself, were the people in the supply chain treated and paid fairly? Most of the time, the impulse buys that we make, number 1, people are exploited along the supply chain, or number 2, we simply don't know enough to make the determination if they were or if they were not. I mean, it could take so many things. For instance, just something that you pop in your head that you know you can go and click 2 buttons and get on Amazon. Just if you ask yourself the simple question, is this item priced at a rate that makes it seem like people were paid fair wages along the way? I guarantee you, like 80% of the time, the answer is no. Asking yourself if you can wait a few days before purchasing is also key. I find that seriously, like 95% of the things that I think I need to buy, if I just give it 24 hours, I suddenly no longer need said thing. If you give yourself time to think about it, a lot of times that excitement and that initial entice to buy something will fade away. So ask yourself, can this purchase wait? This is an entire mindset habit shift, but thinking secondhand first. So asking yourself all those questions, but also adding to the question, can I find it secondhand? And that doesn't just mean going to your thrift store and checking one time. It means that since you're waiting a couple days to purchase said thing, you check all sorts of resources. You ask if you can borrow it from a friend, from a family member, from a neighbor. Can you rent it? Can you find it at a thrift store? Can you find it on Facebook Marketplace? Can you find it on another app like Buns or Let Go? All those sort of things are secondhand. So thinking secondhand first is absolutely a habit that will get you out of the way of just buying things on impulse. Personally, the philosophy that I try to live by, I call it eco-minimalism. The idea here is to buy as little things as we can new to have the smallest footprint on the environment that we can. If your mindset is that you are buying as few things new as possible, that alone, in my experience, will allow you to purchase a lot fewer things, because when you look at something and you want it or you think you need it, your first inclination is, I can't buy it new though, so I need to take the time to find it secondhand. I think just making the mindset shift of no, then yes is also really helpful, because back when I was what I call a hyper consumer, my default answer to if I wanted something that was cute or that I liked was yes. Whereas now my default answer is no. Important mindset shifts that are hard for me to really explain and tell you how to do that, but those are shifts that I personally made from when I used to buy literally everything I didn't need to where now I rarely buy things new. This was a huge mindset and habit shift for me, but it's not shopping for fun. I know that people say that America's favorite pastime is baseball, but I'm pretty sure it's shopping. There was a time where I thought maybe that was just my personal lived experience, that people around me liked to shop for fun or just went to the store when they were bored or scheduled it into their daily, weekly activities. I used to think maybe it was just me, the people I was surrounded by. But the data in the United States proves otherwise. Americans love to shop when they don't need to, when they don't want anything. They will just go to the store to walk around and see if there's anything that they could buy. And don't even get me started on the role that marketing plays in all of this, okay? But I definitely think that if you are someone who is or was in a recent time period, someone who would go shopping for fun, it's definitely important to take a step back from that. And this next habit kind of tacks on to that one. So like I was saying, you need to get out of the habit of shopping for fun. If shopping is a hobby of yours, you gotta stop it. And if you just stop shopping, right, and that's your hobby, now you're left with no hobby. And you might feel a little bit of deprivation or scarcity. I talk a little bit about this in some videos in the past, but the scarcity mindset is attuned to like our hierarchy of needs. And when we feel like our needs are not met, or we feel like we are living in scarcity, it will often send our brains to just buy, hoard, hoard, hoard. And it's kind of the opposite of what we're wanting. So this next mindset habit shift would be not to just simply give up shopping and then just have that void in your life, but to get in the habit of replacing those bad habits with better ones. Say you are personally ready to cut red meat out of your life because you know how awful it is for the planet. If you just cut out red meat and don't replace it with something else to go there, of course you're going to feel deprived. Of course that is adding to the scarcity mindset. And in my personal experience, in the long run, that leads to more bad things than good things. You want to get out of the mindset of I gave this up and get into the mindset of instead I do blank, instead I use blank, okay? Having these two very different mindset shifts will help you maintain sustainable living long term, and you gotta get out of the mindset of just, oh, I gave that up, oh, I don't buy that, I don't use that, and get into the mindset of instead of doing X, I now do Z. Another little habit that I would form is being aware of what sustainable brands there are out there for things that you need or want in your life. In order to avoid non-sustainable impulse purchases, knowing where you can go and get this thing that you need from a sustainable brand is going to be much easier if you know of a sustainable brand. If you need something quickly, right? So for instance, a few summers ago, I really needed an SPF shirt. Your girl is pasty. I just spent 2 weeks outside in Florida, and can you tell it all? No, I'm still pretty pasty. This is because I take sun protection very, very seriously. But like I was saying, a couple years ago, I realized that I needed to be taking sun protection seriously. So I really wanted an SPF shirt. And I obviously didn't want to buy it from a brand that you can find in the stores because they're often covered in fish. Like a lot of people who use these things are fishermen, and I don't want to walk around promoting that. So I knew that was a purchase I wanted to make, but I wanted to make it from a sustainable brand. And luckily, because I am always aware of what brands are out there that are more sustainable, I knew about this brand called Stream 2C. They're really, really a great brand, not just for sun shirts, but also for sunscreen. They make some really good sunscreens. I was able to make a sustainable purchase instead of just going with what I had available to me. So getting into the habit of noticing brands that make sustainable things is a really good thing to do. Obviously, I always recommend secondhand first, but this would apply to where that doesn't work, like in the situation like I was talking about. There are a few ways you can do this. Obviously, I share sustainable brands here on the channel, but more often on my blog. So I do have a whole blog about reef-safe sunscreens. But getting in the habit of knowing sustainable brands can help you avoid purchases in general, because most of those sustainable brands are not just able to be walked to the store and buy on impulse, but also help you make an unethical, purchase. Like I said, this video is very chatty, and this next topic I don't know how to make concise. This is one of my flaws. We need to get into the habit, and we need to have a mindset shift that instead of constantly berating and criticizing our friends and family for not living under our values, we need to get into the habit of taking that energy and focusing on the people who are responsible for our sustainable related issues. Because the answer to actually changing sustainability and protecting and helping the environment is so much bigger than you and me. My most commonly asked question is, how do I change my friends and family's mind on XYZ sustainable related thing? And I only realized recently that I get that question so much because I don't think people realize that our actions, or at least this is my opinion, okay? Getting more people to live the way we live is not what's going to change the world. The reason that we live XYZ way, that we don't purchase XYZ thing, why we have XYZ habit, is to influence change on the upside. I told you I'm not doing a great job at explaining this. The reason I avoid single-use plastics is so that I'm not giving money to the corporations who are producing said thing. I want them to find alternatives, be it better recycling systems, compostable, degradable materials. I don't want to give my money to tell them that I think this is okay. Sure, getting my mom to start a compost pile would be amazing. It would make me so happy, and I think for her individual footprint, it would make a huge difference. But what would make an even bigger difference would be to get the cities to fund and implement free curbside composting. Those are the changes we need to see, not just my mom. And so I think the mindset shift here is literally that. Would it be good to have another you or me doing the things that we think are sustainable to have more influence above? Yes, you shouldn't stress yourself out over or invest more time and energy into changing your friends and family's minds. If you want to spend that time and energy and effort on something, it would be to do things like I'm trying to talk about more, like voting, like joining a local community group that's trying to influence change, going to a city council meeting, giving reoccurring donations to groups and organizations who do the advocacy work to change things at the top. Also, because people ask me all the time how to change their friends and family's minds, and my response is often, I have no fucking idea. I haven't been able to convince my friends and family of much. So I feel very passionately about this now that I've had this realization that we need to have that mindset shift, and I definitely wanted to introduce this conversation to you. I would love to hear what you think of just this little section in the comments. Love to start a conversation with you, and I want to give another huge thank you to Skillshare for partnering with me on this video. So let's talk a little bit more about them. I am so excited to share the Skillshare course with you today because it is something so creative and just different than most things you would think of as a course to take. But it's called Artivism, Creating Inspiring Art for Change by Nicholas Smith on Skillshare. This is not something I would be particularly good at. I am not super good at art, but it was really, really cool to look through this process and just get the creative juices flowing of how to be a better activist, incorporating things that are also creative. Skillshare offers membership with meaning to connect you with support of fellow creatives and enter a community of encouragement, communication, and inspiration. So whether you're looking to fend off boredom, focus on self-care through creativity, or join a similarly creative community, Skillshare is the place to keep you learning. The first 1,000 people to use the link in my description will get a free trial to Skillshare's premium membership, and after that, it's only around $10 a month. So check them out. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, until next time, you cannot do all the good that the world needs, but the world needs all the good that you can do. Bye, guys.